We are live.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. The Veronica Valley Committee.
I'll have one, Scott. That'd be
Parks and
a
Rec.
please.
We'll forego the pledge of allegiance since the chair's late. Could I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Behrens,
Present.
Mr. Christensen,
Present.
Mr. Walter, and Mr. Popa,
Here.
all present.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
I'd like to make a quick addition. The item 1 is simply the chair's report on 2 topics.
As amended. So move.
Do I hear a second?
I missed that.
I amended the agenda with the chair's report as item number 1 on 2 topics of grooming and fish day. And Steve made a motion to approve that.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
The number to call in for public comment is 231-256-8109. I would give it just 20 seconds because I don't think anyone's watching.
Okay, let's move on then. I don't know, since you all have been here for a few minutes, if Scott has filled you in at all.
I can't hear you.
No. Go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you
Is
hear
there
me?
copies of the minutes?
They were sent out by email.
I read them. I didn't see minutes here, John. I thought they were fine. I learned a couple things that I didn't do since the last meeting.
If you want to move them to the next meeting for approval, so you have a chance to review them, you can certainly have that choice.
Can I do that by chairman direction?
You can make a motion to move it to the next meeting.
Okay, I move that we do that we move approval of the previous minutes, that would have been January 15th, I believe,
Yes.
to our next meeting, which would be in March. Do I hear a second?
Support.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay. The grooming situation.
Well,
Let's start, we'll start first with the mechanical part of it.
yeah, we had Dave out for a lesson and he broke the groomer. But he didn't really break it.
Wish it was that strong.
A bogey wheel broke off one of the tracks. So don't know why. Took it to get up, got parts on order, hopefully be here today. We may have it back Friday.
Wow, okay.
Um,
We got the grooming in that day, the first use of the full sled, the full width that has knives that drop down and lift up the snow. And then it's spread out in a corduroy surface, and the arm comes down and lays down a 2-track. It was the first time we had done that for this year. And we come back to the garage and there's this wheel laying in the snow. So we actually groomed it all without that dolly wheel. But Scott discovered that the only thing holding the wheels, those dolly wheels in, was each other. And one had, it was an amazing piece of metal that it twisted in 2. But good news if we get it back by Friday.
Tentatively.
Yeah, okay, I understand.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So Molly and I have been there, we've learned the trick to getting it in neutral so it will start. We're ready to go to keep brewing as we continue to keep snow as soon as we get it back. Now, fish day. I got a call yesterday from Lonnie Rockmaker. The fishing committee of the Leelanau Lake Association is planning that this year there will be a fish day on the 20th of June. They have talked with Heather Hedinger. She has confirmed that the fish supplier has a pond of fish dedicated to us. I mean, he has the supply in mind, ready to go for fish day. So at this moment, fish day is still on. And that committee wishes to proceed with what didn't get done last year because of COVID, because of no fish day. Commemorative bench, a commemorative plaque on a bench for Pete Taylor, who's been instrumental in the creation and the operation, certainly of Fish Day over many years. So we have a policy on plaque size. Scott, do you remember, you told me it was a year ago now when this was first coming along, that you had a bench frame.
I do, yeah.
Did we decide, it seems to me we decided to use an artificial plastic for the seat and the back rather than wood?
I don't think we've decided on material.
Laurel,
I would like to offer comment on this subject. I would suggest having a conversation with the administrator, Chet Janik, on this, because the board created a committee just for handling donations, which might supersede anything parks committees do. So before you get too invested in this, talk to Chet about this.
Thank you. I'll take care of that.
do we have a feel for how the fish planting went? 1 and 2, did we ever get Heather's numbers on the netting she did?
Well, that, I don't know.
Wasn't there a,
Not this year, there wasn't a netting.
It was the year before,
a couple
right?
Years
Year
ago,
before.
and we did get numbers, but
I don't remember seeing the numbers from the
I
latest netting.
do, and I couldn't quote them, but I know I saw them.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd
A
be
pretty
nice,
big mix of fish, I was surprised at that.
it'd be nice to see the most recent numbers and results. I can't remember seeing them, and maybe that's because I was absent or disorganized.
Now, that netting was all done through Jim Garavaglia, who was at the time with the tribe. Is that correct? I mean, is that the only source of the netting?
Yeah, the previous one was with the tribe, that was 10 years ago or something, and one of their nets had an opening, a hole in it, so it wasn't 100% accurate per se. So I was real interested in seeing this next one, and I don't know if the whole group saw it and I missed it entirely, or my memory's fading, I don't know. But it'd be good, I think, just to look at it again, at least as a committee level.
Well, it would have changed anyway over the years now, so.
Yeah,
Well, it's only 2 years out.
yeah, but we had the spray last year and loss of, really all of the weeds. I'm curious what the impact
It
was.
got fished pretty hard this year too.
And it got fished very hard this year.
Which was good. I mean, it was a good year to have. I was kind of angling at, It was a good year to have fish there. And it was, we didn't have fish day, but almost every day was fish day for the general public and getting fished hard. Did the back ponds get fished hard too?
The whole thing, everything, all the ponds, and people fishing in them, the creek, everything.
Wow.
John, did you take your grandkids down there?
No. My kids aren't kids anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, I meant weren't you there with a grandson once, I ran into you in the back pond?
Can't remember.
Yeah, well, that's why I asked.
Don't recall.
Don't recall.
And John, Walter, I know you talked about your grandkids fishing
Yeah, they fish. I have two sets of grandkids, boys and girls.
at the back ponds.
Yeah, they went back to back pond, but they didn't see many. And they like to see them before they fish.
Okay,
And they went to the other kids' pond and they fished it a bit. But they didn't get any.
I don't recall seeing these, so where would we look to find,
The results from that netting?
yeah, the results from any netting?
Scott, you might have those, or?
I might.
Or Heather probably has them sitting right on her computer.
Yeah, it'd probably be better to get it from Heather. I'm not very organized.
Okay. I fall into the same category.
And as we know, Heather I'll start communicating with her tomorrow, and I hope we'll hear by the next meeting.
Okay,
She's tough to get hold of. or
Well, there's
to get a response.
there's a sequence that we should be aware of with regard to the overall commission moving to purchase again. And Heather usually does a report and has all of the numbers in front of us, and that has to happen well in advance so that we're not trying to do it when the fish are coming.
So
I think
that's,
Lonnie is taking care of that.
well,
Still has to go through the commission.
yeah, we still have to take our part through the commission for the fish purchase. And that has to be, we've got to be ready for that in April, because we need the commission's movement in May. That's the question.
And the fish come in June.
When the fish come in June.
Right.
Okay. That again is something I'll take care of, because I've had multiple contacts with Heather, so I'll keep that going. Can we move on to wayfinding signage? No. Were the printed copies provided? I see Steve has one. I didn't print one off myself.
We're trying to get away with putting out all sorts of documentation. If we send it to you ahead of time, you should really have it.
It was emailed.
Yeah, I emailed it out.
That's the old one.
Oh, yeah, I've got that.
You want them? Give me one.
Well, you've all got copies. I mean, those who do, give me some reaction. I'll bring it up on the computer. What do you think?
Oh, this looks good.
Is this the one?
I thought, obviously you walked it and identified locations that could potentially be confusing for first timers or even people that have been there once or twice, kind of getting turned around,
Well,
or wanting to know which way to go to which trail and whatnot. And having that signage where the 6 units are, I thought looked good.
and the choice there was signage as people leave the parking lot and start. But the other, 3 locations are where you cannot see the parking lots. There's a trail intersection, and from that point, you can't see either parking lot. And, I'm always surprised people get turned around in such a small space. but they do. And that's the basic question. Where am I in relationship to my car? How do I get back to my car? Now, the black dotted lines, that was a choice by Rob Herman, the GIS tech that did this out of the equalization department. And he chose the black dotted line for the trails because it really popped off the map better than John and I had gone in and met with him, told him what we needed. And we had suggested a bright color, but it was Rob's choice to go with this black. So what do you think about that? John Pope, have you seen this at all?
I don't have anything in front of me.
I think it's down there.
Is that his most recent one, Dave?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that either. Let me take a quick look.
He added this.
Okay,
and
beautiful.
So the signs are gonna look like this?
Yes,
This is gonna be a colored sign?
on that printed laminated sign
Yeah.
style.
Hey, John, I think I gave you a single sheet.
Microphone?
You need to speak into the
I
mic.
think I gave you a single sheet that showed the sign and it showed the cost.
And then each one of these locations is gonna be something like this, it's gonna tell you where you're at.
It's got a number that will correspond. It has, each spot has a number.
Like 1 and 2 and 3.
Yes, and that will correspond to a legend, which is not there. That's one thing I hadn't seen, John Walter, hadn't paid attention to. We need the number and a legend, or it's gotta be,
And you sent something that said how much it cost?
Yeah, I think I gave you the sheet, John.
He handed it to you just now.
No, before, not that one. Yeah, no,
Oh, this,
yeah, that's the sheet, John. I went to Travis Repro, worked with them. And I went a second time because we changed the size, reduced the size. And I found out, I called Northern Lumber and found one, 4x4, 8 foot long, and my back kind of fell down and told it was $20. And so it would have the sheet you're looking at on this type of material, on the post with a number on it would be about this size. So you see this number, then you look on the map, and you see that number on the map, and that tells you where you are.
now I see right away, John Walter, that we need to tell Rob that the numbers of each of those locations on the map needs to be much more visible than this
Oh,
copy.
yeah,
I'll have them- those numbers have to be bigger
yeah,
for the one location that you're at.
yeah, especially if it's only 8.5 by 11 sheet.
Yep. Now, that's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 maps,
Correct.
and do we need more? I'm wondering about, when you come from the front parking lot, you go down past the tree corral and around Frog Pond, and then you come to the intersection where you can turn right and go to the bridges. Do we need a sign there that says simply bridges?
You want this? Just look at it.
I'm just wondering, do we need more signs or not? Those intersections were chosen because standing there, yeah, we gotta make sure on that. No, that's correct. Standing there, you can't see the parking lot, you can't see where you are.
It looks like a good number to me. We can always add signs. You know, if we're shy, we can always add an extra or
Yeah,
two.
I think that,
The hard part, Steve, is that we've already got this plate made up with the numbers, and we'd have to go around and put a sticker on it. So if we could figure as many at this time,
Yeah.
then the plate's gonna be made and then that would, just a little bit harder to add.
so we do need to decide.
I see.
The signs will
Start.
the signs will be numbered on the map itself. So if you add one, then you don't have number 8, because it doesn't show on any of the other maps.
Got it.
Yes.
Now, of course, this map is an electronic file in Rob Herman's computer. So that kind of addition would be easy to make and then print off and go to the printer, but it would be all those extra steps, yes. Now, I think, hearing what Steve said, and John Popo, you've counseled us before not to have too many signs in the park all over the place. And so I think this is a good start, without overdoing it.
That's how many? 4?
Well, total it's 6, because it takes 3 to have one on the access pathway from each parking lot, 2 from the front parking lot, depending on which way they go, and 1 from the back parking lot, and then 3 more.
At the blind spots.
At the blind spots, which are at each end of the long pond, basically, long ponds, and then back where you make a turn to go to the trail, tunnel trees off the back loop.
Dave, the document that I have is not related to the discussion. What is the total estimated or proposed cost for the signs?
John Walter? Laurel asked the cost.
Yeah, I did, Laura.
Because this has nothing, I think he had it.
I just.
So it says 7 signs is $490, because it's 70 a sign?
Yes,
Okay, then that's well in the realm of approving.
that includes the posts and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, I already knew that we were within that range, yes.
well, I have it in my head, your thresholds of.
And she's trying to keep us from
Absolutely,
stepping over the edge,
and please do.
and I appreciate that.
There would be no contract involved, so no, this is an expenditure we can recommend to our commission, Parks and Rec Commission, that we move ahead with this. Yeah, I can't think of any other addition.
You know, Dave, last time my wife went on last week, because I always go to the main parking lot, I went to the other parking lot and we walk out. So we walked out there and then we came to where it splits. And I'm not looking for signs either, but if somebody hadn't been there, they wouldn't know which way the 2 were going.
Number 6 is right there.
Oh, okay, good. That's good, Steve, I'm sorry. I'm not looking at that, so,
Yeah, that's right exactly where number 6 is.
okay, good.
Right, Dave?
Well,
You're coming out of that parking lot and there's the intersection. Go left, it's a dead end. Go right, you're in the trail system. And that's exactly where number 6 is.
got it.
And that's right where John was thinking there should be one.
John Popo, you had a comment?
You might have heard it before, but I'm not a big fan of signs. And I'm not sure we got a problem if people don't know where they're at. Are they getting lost and wandering around? I think the price is right, and I really appreciate looking into this. Do we have a big map when we are in that main parking lot that shows what everything looks like and where you're going and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So you're into this thing, and this is what the park looks like?
Oh, is that the plan? Yes. And I
There it
think
is? But anyway,
we have the locked glass case in the information kiosk that has the roof over it. I put things in there, I have a key to that, but we talked about this, John Walter, of replicating this, but in a large size.
Yeah,
That would be far less expensive, just a good paper print
okay,
inside that case. That
well, I looked at our work goals for this group, and it did say, consider informational signs throughout the park. And that was one of our considerations, to look into doing it. I don't walk that entire park like you guys do. I was born and raised there, so. I know where every hill and tree and mushroom is, and snake. But, anyway, I'm not a big fan of signs, I just think there's other places for improvements and stuff, but price seems right and whatever.
Royal Evans?
One thing I would suggest is if you do consider a big sign, you could just start out with planning and Rob creating one that size. They have a new laminator now that does oversized work.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
you could custom assign to whatever size you need to
Good
fit that
suggestion,
kiosk. And then depending on how it weathers, it might be a really low tech cost way of putting a big sign in the kiosk.
I think that was where they were heading. It's
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
kiosk,
exactly, but I think-
kiosk is covered, it's behind glass, so
Well, that laminator is
Would
just
be
a
perfect.
godsend.
that'd be, well, yeah,
It might help protect the colors from sun fading.
I think so. Laminated is always good, and that would fit right in there nicely.
I didn't know about their new capability, so I will check that out with Rob.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that what I'll do is have him make up the large sign because of the low cost, and we can all look at it. And we got a little bit of time to make a final decision on this, but I'm getting the impression from everybody that John Walter and I are on the right path.
Yes,
Is that correct?
yes.
okay, I had a comment on what was presented by Rob, in that the background that he shows is long outdated, and it shows 100-foot wide fairways. And it was a long time ago, and the trees were I'm sorry.
I hate to keep interrupting. I will let you know though that because we just finished February executive board session, we found out or actually early this month, that one of the 2% allocation requests that was approved by the tribe happened to be $10,000 towards new ortho photos. Additionally, Trudy found out from the state that the price had dropped from 43,000 down to 20-some thousand. So they're gonna be able to do those ortho photos, and at the time I knew this meeting was coming up, I said, so do you have any kind of idea when they might do that? And I guess it just depends on when they schedule the flights, but it's probably sometime in June. So there's that.
It's a new flyover, John.
Pardon?
It's gonna be a new flyover. This was
Oh,
taken
yeah.
from 2017.
Yeah,
That was important to me, because I went out there before looking at it, as a person who didn't know it. And if I'm looking at a fairway that's more than 100 feet wide, then I'm looking at Scott, nice laid out, 10 feet wide, with all these grasses and trees, you wouldn't be able to recognize it very well. So see, that was a good point, that Rob says, well, we'll wait on it, do that fly, and maybe take a couple more months, but because it's gonna be long-term, it would be worth it.
Yeah, I think, Laurel,
I'm sorry. I walked a few state trails. Maybe you can get by with just having a marker that lists the number and then attribute it to that map that you have in the kiosk. we can put a barcode, like a QR code on that map, so if somebody wanted to scan that QR code, they could pop up the map from our website and look at it on their
It won't
phone.
work out there. We don't have cell service.
Yeah, that's a good point. My wife's taking off hiking, and I was gonna see it and decide on to walk, but she's out there. So I'm wondering where she is, and I'm trying to call her.
Okay,
No, that's,
My flip phone didn't work, John.
it's scary being out there working by yourself. by the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
No cell, no phone, no nothing.
well, what if you had some brochures that you could hand out, but you still have like a little identifier sign with that number on it only? Just tacked somehow.
Interim.
Yeah, just an interim.
So,
Fix
yeah,
until
the
you get your
suggestion is to have
ordinance.
the numbers, the number plaques without the map, and the map comes after the flyover.
Yeah,
Oh, I see. So we could started to get the
Get
posts in
something
place.
out there.
Well, get the posts in place, we can get a cheap paper copy, large scale copy from Rob Herman. It doesn't even have to be laminated to go inside, temporarily to go inside the kiosk, glass case.
yeah.
Yeah, you could always print these and laminate them and staple them to the post temporarily.
Yeah.
They won't last for a couple months,
Yeah.
but get us through till the next.
Get us through to the flyovers
Because it's
done.
only a few months, and then once they do the flyover, I think they can get the information relatively quickly.
That's gonna be a nice upgrade.
It's probably gonna be May or later till you get the posts in anyways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, well, we can wrap,
These came up.
I think we can wrap this up because I've got a couple steps to do with Rob Herman. John and I will take care of these extra steps, and I really think what's gonna happen is I'm gonna walk in here the next time with a paper big, what's gonna go in the kiosk. Example of it, cheap on paper,
Then we can formulate exactly what our recommendation is.
and what our plan is, and what our recommendation is to the
Commissioner.
PNR commission.
So you're not ready to make a motion to buy these signs? I think they're pretty good deal.
I suppose we're in a position to proceed, because all we're talking about is detailing. I'll accept the motion.
Well, do you want to just err on the side of caution? And they've quoted you $490. So you say in a cost not to exceed $550, knowing it's gonna be quite a bit less. And then that way, when it comes to the time of actually ordering the signs from the company, you don't have to come back with a new motion. What does that sound like?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Because I can't imagine them going up that much in price, if they did.
Besides, I think we are at a point, Steve, to make motion,
Okay.
because we're just tinkering with the detail, and we know the cost.
Hey, Laura, that was kind of with us doing it ourselves, not hiring somebody with it.
But the actual signage that you're purchasing is how much?
That was what you saw on that sheet.
So the $490.
Yes. it's-
So the motion is to recommend to the full commission to purchase signage
Wayfinding signs, wayfinding signage.
from
From that company.
Travers Rico in an amount not to exceed $550.
I would, yes.
So move.
Second. All in favor?
You need roll call?
No, because you're all here.
Oh, I thought it's for the,
Well, if you're doing halvesies, then you could, but if everyone's in agreement, it's only if someone says no. Then, if you have split vote, then you have to delineate it.
Okay, we'll keep moving on that.
All in
And John-
favor?
Oh, all in favor of the motion? Aye. Okay, the motion passes, unanimous. And John Popo, yes, I heard long ago you say, we don't want to overdo signs. We don't want a park full of signage. So in my thinking it through it on a number of different occasions, including all that we went through with planning for the grant applications, I boiled it down to just this kind of sign, that is answering that question for those people. I have run into, frankly, two sets of women who were really turned around, didn't know where they were in that little space, and so it happens.
Good.
That's all, it just happens.
Leave you.
Okay, moving on, let's see, where's the agenda here? Okay, parking lot entry. Do you have anything more for us, John Volkel, or Scott?
I'm the John Baker.
There's a John speaker there.
Well, I thought you were gonna speak.
Okay, John is speaking.
Okay.
John and I met out there last week to look at that entryway. It was on our general plan for this grant to improve that entryway. Right now, it doesn't meet any highway standards where you have commercial entrance and stuff. If this was built, you would have to meet those. It's deteriorated. It's a safety hazard because of all the stones that come out. So there is a need, without going into it, that we need a paved entryway with curbs. There's also a culvert there. It's rusted on the outside. I was gonna send a tool down there to see how bad it is on the inside. But I think it would be a waste of time, and I think if we're gonna put this entryway in, that's the time to dig up that culvert and put a new one in. So we just got some general dimensions here. John did some real good work on it. He also researched the standards that we would have to follow. Got some rough estimates of what it would cost, anywhere from 10 to 20,000, depending if we were gonna put a culvert in or not. The curbs would be included in that. If you just had to pave that as a civilian, you could probably get by with 10 grand. But curbs are a little bit more, and culvert can be done by the road commission at cost, since this is a public entity. There is a little bit of excavation there to meet the standards. I think John has it on his next page. You got some sloping to do there so that water does not run out on the road and then cause an ice damage in the winter and stones and sand. So I think we need to look further into this and bring it up to our full commission, Parks and Rec Commission, and say we need to pursue this. It could be done this year, but I'm not sure there's money. I'm not gonna go out for bids this year just to say heck no to the project. If we have to put money in the next year for this, then we'll go out for bids next year and do it. Not quite sure on the entryway, talking with Scott, you know, we have a little island there. Right now, the entryway is much larger than it has to be. It's only a qualified width that you have to meet coming in and out of there. I know there are trucks going in and out of there, but this isn't the final design that we would go out for bids in. You'd have to do some homework, and I'd probably have to bring the county engineer in there. Whether we move the island over more, whether we move the culvert over more, there's a little bit of work to do.
The island idea, and at least as much as is in John's drawing here, the other John Walter's drawing, at least that long there at the entrance, that was part of Gus and Zubek's recommendation in the planning of parking improvements into the grant application. I'm sorry?
To do what to the island?
Well, that it should be there, that it helped with identifying traffic flow in and out of the park.
Oh, yeah.
And that's an
excellent spot.
Yeah, and so having it in this drawing, having it in our planning, I think it needs to be there
The
because it's.
sign island, it had already been approved by the full commission. It just never got done.
Oh, well, I just threw that in, and John and I didn't talk about it. I showed 6x6 because, if you go higher like 8x8, first when you back your car, you may not make the 8 inches. And so I just did it with,
We had talked about using the landscape
oh,
block.
yeah.
What was it that you mentioned that there was approved to improve that island?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's already a done deal there. I mean,
Okay, I didn't know that.
And that would probably go along with it. I like the idea with blocks. I'm not sure the location, we might move it over 5 feet or just leave it where it's at, or include it in the project that you level that and grade it and build a new island. We're not quite there yet, but I want to know whether to go forward with this project and whether the Parks and Rec Commission is going to say yes to it. And if they say yes, they're going to look at the budget and is there $20,000?
Question?
John brought up a point about, the width of this entrance. So, that question needs to be answered. And connecting the width of this entrance with the plan that Gosling did for the, it's the park plan. We started out park plan, we ended up doing the 5-year plan and came back to the park plan and went out for a grant. So the park plan is in the 5-year plan. So the width of this needs to be determined. Number one, and number two, we need a ballpark number that's a little closer than 10 to 20,000. I don't think it's a question whether we should do the culvert or not if and when we do this entry. I think that's a given. So give us a ballpark for the total project. We need to kind of get that number somehow when we make the recommendation to the commission. Laurel?
The problem I see here is that this is something that would need to go out with a formal request for proposal and the scope of services.
Well, and we need to start here at this group with determining whether we think this is something that can be done this year. I don't think so. I think this is a project that needs to go towards 2022, but we have to again make these financial, we gotta have financial information because the 2022 budget gets solidified in midsummer. So we gotta know what we're doing by the June meetings that I'll participate in, and Steve in setting our budget request for next year. So John Popa, in the minutes, I read that there was an estimate that you gave, and it was all this real ballpark stuff, for the whole project at 30,000. Am I hearing that 10,000 is silly? It doesn't get much done.
10 is if you just wanted to pave it, like it was your home and then leave. 15 is if you want to put curbs in. And if you want to replace that culvert, you're going to probably have another $5,000 in it. And so we have to figure out whether we want to put in this year. Bill will come up with some drawings this year and go out for bids.
Yeah.
If we just want to put an estimate, then we got to go to the board and put it in next year's budget as an estimate.
Exactly.
But I'm not going to go get quotes and stuff to put in as an estimate.
No,
We
we're
can do
not.
our own estimate.
We're not there yet.
Do we feel that the number 30,000 is a pretty good number to bring up when we're discussing what could possibly be done at Veronica during the commission meeting? Because we're gonna have a commission meeting and as we head toward budget, eventually we're gonna figure out how much we're gonna spend over our miles. And there's gonna be some money in the budget this year. Obviously, the signage is no problem whatsoever. But this might fit this year yet, if there's that much money left in the budget. We just don't know until the miles deal comes down, we don't know that. So it'd be nice to have this in front of the commission and be thinking, in case we need to pull the trigger on a project of this size. And unless there's another one, I don't see it. So, you know, I wouldn't be afraid to think this is possible for this year. And if 30,000 is a pretty darn good number, give or take, and I think we could talk to the Parks and Rec Commission about the possibility of doing this year.
You could, 30 would more than cover it. If we don't do anything this year, I think we should take that culvert out and fix it and have it ready and get that out of the way, because that can be done by the road commission and they just bill us. I've already asked them, but they're busy chasing ice and snow right now. I've already asked them, say, could you get this done in one day? You'd stuff a rag up, that pond overflows, stop the water, take your culvert out, get a permit from you because it's wet or whatever. Put in a hole in the culvert, put it down, and would be ready for another contractor coming in. So that's always a possibility too, getting that rotten culvert out of there.
That'd be step one, no matter what.
I think we could do it this spring if you wanted us to.
So Scott, you're shaking your head, you had other things to say. Your turn.
Yeah, I just feel like that parking lot's just way too big. And only one time a year we use it for a lot of cars. Normally, if there's 5 cars in there, that's a big day.
Yeah, in all of my watching it, through all of the COVID period, I think it was 7 or 8.
And it's a maintenance nightmare to plow that thing, being gravel.
Yeah.
It tears the truck up, it tears the driver up, it tears the gravel up. The whole thing needs to be paved. If we're gonna do it, pave it and make it smaller. They can park on the grass in the overflow events, they do anyway. So.
Well, is that another thing? Is there, with bringing that idea into this, that if we're gonna redo the entrance, we redo the whole parking lot? Is this something that we need to plan in stages? Like step one, get the culvert done this year, because we can afford it, certainly. Steve?
Well, size-wise, I think as we think about the size of that lot, we should be thinking about buses coming in and leaving. We have a kids event there, 5th grade, you know, just as long as it's big enough for the buses to come. As it is now, the school buses come in and they swing and drop the kids off.
You need to redesign it, make it round or whatever, but it's just too big.
I'm wondering too,
You can't plow it in any good way.
do we have to plow the whole lot? Is there a way to plow partial or?
Good.
Because I know what you're saying. I mean, once on the farm, once I'm starting to plow, I mean, I do it so that as we get a big winter, I can still get the snow somewhere. But once I'm to that point, that's as far as I go. I don't want to plow any extra because it's cold out there. And you're right, it's tearing up the machinery and whatnot. So I don't know, there's quite a bit to the discussion, I guess.
I could do a layout for a bus turnaround. And before you said that, I was thinking the basic double-loaded parking lot is 64 feet wide. And we have over 100 feet wide. We have over 100 feet wide. So
That's 130 feet wide.
130 feet, right. I knew it was one of them. So let me look at that as to different ways of possibly doing it. Because at the 130, it's actually 2 double-loaded parking lots. But we we don't have markers so I could look at that and the potential, Steve, maybe to keep the double loaded parking spots so that it would enable a bus to turn around, but to shorten it so that it reduces the overall amount. If you want, I could draw the options for reviewing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that'd be excellent. I think this discussion is leading us a little farther down the line as to what that parking lot should look like in the end. And I think that's a real good direction for the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna do it, let's do it right.
And John, Walter, and when you're doing that, pay special attention to that entrance and the width of the entrance. If we're gonna drop a new culvert in there, if it can be a shorter culvert and a little narrower entrance, curb, asphalt, culvert, all of that, it's cost. And if we can squeeze it down a little bit, if it should be or not, if this is the time to think about it.
Yeah, I'll do it and then I'll drop it off. John kind of heading this up. But when John and I were there for maybe an hour, all the time there were county road trucks that were coming in to turn around. And so the turning around by the school bus will be kind of a controlling factor if you want that.
I think we would,
Okay,
we have that need
okay.
and need to support that use by a school group.
Right.
So I think that's something we need to plan into it. So you and John Popa can continue to communicate on this?
We could, I don't wanna pass up the opportunity though of making sure we get that culvert done.
Absolutely.
Right away, and also, I'm not sure how quick we're gonna get this parking lot designed. You can put in this entryway and do the parking lot later, as long as we have that entryway defined with the correct width and stuff like that. If we wanna expand the parking lot, looking at that general plan, it did ask for paving for, forget the word, handicap, wheelchair bound people, so
Yes.
that they had a place to park there.
I think, John Walter, if you can very first look at the width of that entry and see if we're in the right ballpark, and then communicate to John Popa, so he has the correct length of culvert to talk to the county road commission about. John Popa, you're gonna need to know the cost of the culvert, and if the county road commission is gonna actually do the work, what that cost is gonna be ballpark. We need to know the numbers where we're going, to figure out, if we can or cannot just go ahead and have the county road do this. The total will tell us that, and we'll work through Chet and Laurel to make sure that we're not heading out of bounds with this.
Which part, when you say the county road commission doing all of this?
The culvert.
The culvert part, okay.
Just the culvert. I mean,
Yeah.
John Popa is thinking, if the culvert has to happen,
Well,
having the county road commission involved, we get the culvert at cost, and they do the work and bill us. Another thing that happens, it's a county road ditch, it's a county road in the project. They have their own wetlands person that can do that permitting. The only thing I would need to do is the soil erosion control at that point, which would speed the project along. So anyway,
Well, so what I'm hearing is we've broadened the whole discussion of paving the entrance to, let's do the whole parking lot.
potentially,
But, well, yes, as a distant plan, not all at once necessarily. In fact, the next point is, I'm hearing, let's break it into steps that we can manage.
Yeah.
Either time-wise or budget-wise. And the first step is, let's move on the culvert replacement and get that done. John Walter and John Popa will determine this entry width issue, which will then, and have that tied to a smaller parking lot. Certainly, when we get into the nitty-gritty and the details, we need to keep in mind that our porta potties are heavily used. I think we need to include improvements, porta potty, which basically a cement pad, put them on, but one that's big enough for future use, future design additions, et cetera. But all of that is really tied, the location of it, et cetera, is tied to parking lot and access. That's the kind of detail that will be in that broader discussion.
So the next committee meeting, we'll have a broader discussion. The two Johns will have better numbers for us to talk about.
Weather permitting.
And Scott will have, give us some ideas on the porta potty, situation. I mean, where and what should it look like? We've got a situation over at Miles that we did, and how does that, yeah, that's exactly. Bring us some ideas so we know where to go with this. Perfect.
Yeah, you brought up porta potty, and I re-looked up the cost of porta potty, more than I had put down on something, the number was about $2,500.
Well, Scott, you had talked with the people that we already rented,
We actually lease those.
Okay, I wondered about that.
and the addition, it was double for a UA.
It was about $60 more a month, I think, for a UA.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, no,
And-
I remember.
And I think that.
And that was one of the bigger, where you could.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a UA.
Fancy.
Right. Now, even the porta potty improvements as a single project, that too can be broken into steps. I mean, in terms of our looking at what we can get done, because I think it may be possible to get simply the right cement pad work done this year, get the porta potties that are there up on top of it. That has to be coordinated with some future thoughts about the screening of it, but that can be a separate step. I mean, I think we can, those things are steadily used. I see people use them in the wintertime, steadily. So improvement there, I think we owe it to the citizens to have that service and to have it quality.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I'm surprised how many people just go there, use the bathroom.
Yeah, absolutely, drive in for that purpose and drive out.
Okay,
I know guys doing routes in the county that do that.
So we'll back up, this is, when I looked up the cost on it, so that it's still profitable to lease for the long term than to buy it, Scott, you think so?
Well, they do all the maintenance, everything, it gets
Oh.
run into it by a car or whatever, it's
Fine. Hey,
their dime.
Good, I like that, I'm sorry, I like that.
And you get the newest models rotating through.
Okay, good. I just wondered that.
So between Scott and John Walter and myself, we will then, Steve, be bringing some detail of that porta potty improvement and have that in some steps and see if we can get some of that done this year.
Excellent. I think next agenda, the porta potty could be a separate item even.
That's what I'm saying, is we head towards the next meeting or two, porta potties will be a separate agenda item. So can we move on to fishing access, reconstruction, safety considerations? John?
Yeah, I got some, a little sporadic, I should have handed this stuff out all at one time, but.
Oh, well.
Thanks, John.
Everything you could go along with, that's everything, so that's,
Okay.
you want to go about ramps.
Perfect.
Ramps. You get the ramp thing too? Yeah, I'm gonna. I'm learning, Laurel. Here's a review of the ramps. So, let me back up a little bit.
I can get the ramp.
You didn't get your ramp, I used to have one of those. Let me back up a little bit. on this because it'll relate to how we do the access to the fishing area around the fishing area. So John and I measured the ramp on the existing bridge, main bridge. And you can see all the computations of it, I won't go there. But basically, the ramp going up the bridge is the same thing as the ramp you're looking at for the requirements. It's a 1 in 12 slope. That's what you want to know for the maximum slope there.
It's already, the ramps at each end of the bridge are already compliant with.
They're exactly 1 in 12. Now the handrails are different because the handrails, I think the handrail height, I didn't measure, but particularly that's required to be 42 inches. And I think it feels like about that height. And you might, if you want to make it handicap, is to put the graspable handrails at between 34 and 38 inches off the floor and all that sort of stuff. Although I always thought the handrails related more so you didn't fall off the ramp than anything else, and there's already a handrail there. And
Well, in the case of the proper grading of slope approaching the fishing area,
no,
that you can't fall off that.
well, that's why I prefaced this sheet first.
Okay.
Before I went to that. And I don't want to take a lot of time, but I'm involved in this stuff. And I was involved before it was even handicapped, anything. And I'll tell you a couple of frustrations. I'm designing St. Pat's Church in Groton. You have the 600-seat church, they got the rectory and the whole ball of wax. And then the rectory is a barrier-free bathroom and the toilet. And it so happens that the barrier-free toilet in the rectory was only 18 inches to the wall instead of the new code of being 21 inches to the wall. So the permit for the whole church in the rectory was held up until the toilet got changed in the rectory. The other one would be doing the office building, lawyer's building where the bean pot used to be down there on Front Street. Easily did those two. I can't get the name out. But anyway, pardon?
Dingman and dance.
That's right. So I'm doing this, and Easling's building, and I'm walking down the stairs, and I'm thinking they're good stairs. I think, oh, this feels good. Wait a second. This feels too good. It was built, as we all know, basically, but 2x8, 7 5/8 high. Well, the requirement is you can only be a riser 7 inches high and not less than 11 inches tread. So Bob Olson, the guy, caught it and said it had to be changed. I said, baloney. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna take it to the zoning board, construction appeals. So I went there, and the guys that have appeals were like Roy Oak and Dave Chris and all the old construction guys. And he said, we're not gonna make it changed. And the point was, when you follow some codes, like you're at a motel and you don't want to go up the second floor on the elevators, you go up the stairs and you end up taking 2 steps because the riser is less than 7 inches is uncomfortable, because we grow up with risers about 7 5/8. So that's how they allowed it. So some of these things on code stuff, I don't know how critical we go to.
Well, this, Steve, is something that I've thought of as you and I've had a couple of talks about this. We can get caught with a dilemma. I think we can build safe fishing access, including the ramp down there, that is accessible by people even in a wheelchair. and safe. I think we can do it with that in mind and not the specifics of the universal accessible code. However, the other side of that balance in that question is, as Steve has pointed out, if we go for more grants, like, let's say Rotary Charity, to support part of this project, well, if it's gonna be grant monies paying for this, then you gotta match the code. You can't say we're gonna do it good enough to be safe, but not quite code. I don't know, I'm on the side of doing it not quite code if that's what it takes, if we know it's safe and done right.
Yeah, well, UA isn't mandated by code office, but UA is now the new gold standard for all the grant opportunities.
Yeah,
Okay.
So if we're gonna be doing grant opportunities in any other part of this park, and it's connected with, and we're doing new projects, you know, and they're gonna be looking at, well, you just did this and it's not UA. And if we're gonna do grant money, it has to be UA. So that might turn a positive into a negative, you know? So if we're trying to get Rotary Charities to help us out with the pavilion, which they said they would do at one point in time, they go in with other grant monies, and we just needed to show another grant opportunity that we took advantage of, and they dropped 10,000 on us for the pavilion. So, you know, there are some opportunities that may happen in the future, and I wouldn't want to have something staring at them that they saw that we just did that wouldn't be something that they would do monies for. I don't know, and I don't know enough to be totally exact on it. I just thought that we're doing it, why don't we do it, UA, and you know more about UA than I do, John Walker. So that was my comment.
Well, yeah, part of these things, Steve, is we're gonna walk, the person in the wheelchair is coming out into a gravel parking lot, and walking 100 feet before he gets to the qualified grant. I'll just go on it, won't worry about it. So on your first sheet, just shows a basic area of providing, but in the first sheet, so 6 feet, meaning it's only 5 feet wide, with a fairly flat surface for kids to fish. The second sheet shows how it might be graded for that. And I think on your sheet, it shows a section where I showed a 4x4 around the outside edge. Well, when I'm there with my grandkids, I saw the slope, they're not gonna do that. They're gonna run out of the car, go to the picnic table, throw their stuff down, the little pink casting rods, run around, and then all the reaction to the water seemed like it was going from the picnic table down.
over this,
Well, the slope.
the lip of
Up down the slope.
that
So
slope.
making that slope work, and I think the 4x4 was a good idea. Partially with full sliding, but also if a child falls in the water, they have something to turn around and grab to get out. And basically, that's it. If you want a 36-foot ramp to meet the 3-foot change in grade, you might have to do the handrails. If you don't want to do the handrails, then the slope has to be 1 and 20, so you have 60 feet of slope, or else we just do a slope access. But so I don't know how far you want to go. So it makes,
Well,
should I stop?
you know, here again, we're gonna have to continue looking at this and start building some actual costs.
Okay.
Now, as I look at the horseshoe shape of the flat fishing area, I think it has to be extended farther around on its left end.
Yeah.
Into the corner of the pond there, because that continues to be some of the deeper water right in that area.
Okay.
Yeah, the way it's drawn, it's showing that it's just gonna be tapered into the water. I think the drop off needs to be there at the wall. So they can just drop their line in there and not be trying to cast 20 feet out in the water. You're gonna ruin the fishing. I know Pete Taylor would be rolling over his grave.
Well, it seems like we're planning to keep that exactly.
No change in the pond. It's just a change in front of the
The
pond.
one you sent out shows that. Right here, this one. You're showing I buried it right into here.
Oh, that was down before.
No,
Yeah. This is that's the one that showed the section. The flat area.
Just making a flat area in front of the pond, that's all.
And I think it could be this grass now. You know, we talked about doing gravel or something, but I don't know, whatever you want. But basically, when I watch my grandkids, some kids fishing and other kids over here decide they want to fish over there. So they gotta take their pole without hitting the kid they're walking around. So that's why at least a flat, 5-foot flat area allows kids to move back and forth.
We would have to pull up some of the soil from the bullnose slope that goes down in order to make that walking area, that fishing area 5 feet wide.
Your section shows it,
Okay.
the second sheet. And the third
Yeah,
sheet
yeah.
will show a photograph of what it is now. And
Well, you and I have talked about, in some of the discussion, again, in planning for the grant application, there was talk of having the ramp go down through the middle of the existing old putting green. That, as John Walter and I have gone back and forth on this, it doesn't seem to make as much sense as having access at really either end. I would think we'd want to bring that left end around farther, and then the ramp, proper access for wheelchairs from the parking lot would come to a point where you could go right or left to either end of that horseshoe. Now, we also,
I did a sketch on that.
okay,
You gotta see that, going out both ways. And then there was one off of John's sketch, just seeing it was so close, just loop the thing around, because it's gonna be gravel and everything. So,
now, another thing we talked about is at the top of the slope where the flat, old putting surface begins to drop, now kind of sharply, but it will begin to drop to that, the fishing sidewalk, the flat area in the horseshoe shape. Do we want kids running down that slope, or might we have a planting of some sort around the top of that rim so that we don't have people just running down that slope towards the flat area? Is that, I don't know, is that something I want to think about?
I thought about that, because Dave, you and I talked about it, and I thought it was a good idea until I started thinking about watching the kids do it. And I think they're gonna try to go down from the picnic table, down the slope, whether there's planting there or not. It's kind of like when we design colleges, a college building, we won't put the sidewalk in until the students start walking to it off the road, walkway, and then we put the sidewalks there, because we know no matter where we put them, where they want to go is where they're gonna go.
Let the social sidewalk happen first and then pave it.
And I think, as an aside, when I'm suggesting designs for shoreline for homeowners when they're getting permits, the plantings serve a purpose ecologically to suck nutrients out. You don't use fertilizers with phosphorus, and you can do plantings and pathways to direct the humans.
Right.
It channels the humans so you don't have erosion or trampling of your buffer for the lake. Now, this is a different situation the more I think about it and listen to John Walter. If you try to channel a bunch of kids, say fish day kids or just a bunch of family kids, into one little thing going down, they're going to be jammed in together. And here, maybe the grassy slope where they can all take their own area gives them so much freedom to be able to be out of each other's way during a fishing experience. So I'm starting to listen to John Walter and seeing his grandkids running around and thinking, let's give them some space so they don't run into each other. So I don't know. I think I'm liking that more.
They don't pay any attention to me anyway, Steve, so.
Just the general idea that from the top flat picnic table surface down to this expanded, wide, safe fishing sidewalk, kids are just gonna wanna go right to it from wherever they are, the first sight they see it. So they're gonna wanna go all different ways down to it. John Pope.
Okay, this is about a 5-year-old subject, and it had to do with that steep log bank right there. And this was a putting green at that time, and that slope came right down to that edge. And when people fell off, they couldn't get back on. The first proposal I had is dig all that out and level that whole thing back so that you got a gradual slope into the water and everything. I've gotten away from that idea. Those cedar logs, when I dove on it, they're gonna stay there for a while. So what we just have to do, when John and I met there, is we have to level that with those posts and bring it back so that there is no running slope all the way to it. Make it so many feet wide. It should have stone there to let the grass come up through it, but due to mud and erosion and a lot of other stuff, just sod all the way up to that edge isn't gonna work. The rest of the places it works because there's all kinds of growth right around it. Here it's gonna be flat, so we put stone in there, take out an enormous amount of dirt from that mound. Scott said he has a place to put it. And that'll get rid of this putting green that he had there. And there won't be any slope for kids to run down. It's gonna be practically level with a real small grade going to about the level of the parking lot. You excavate that out, put a picnic table, let people walk around. And then while John and I was there, it'd be nice to have a little bit wider area there on the north side. And again, put a barrier log there so that people, if you want to wheel your cousin down in a chair and let him fish, that's fine. It doesn't mean he has to wheel himself down there. But a nice gentle slope, wide, go into that spot. And I think that's the route we ought to go. And we can come up with some final drawing plans, John and I, then take it and see whether we go out for bids this year or put it in next year's budget. We can get an estimate of removing all this dirt, get Scott, see where to put it. So many yards of gravel, excavate this stuff out, smooth it out. A lot cheaper than building anything else, and probably 3 days of work. The first one I came up with was about $40,000. It was about a week's work at $1,000 an hour. This won't cost anywhere near that to dig all this dirt out and put some nice stone down there.
Yeah, what kind
And
of-
some 6x4s.
When you say nice stone, what kind of stone? What kind of?
It's gotta be something like a crushed gravel stuff. It's only like $18 a yard or something. You wouldn't have a few $100s in stone all around that edge.
How many children run around barefoot there?
You just gotta make it safe.
I
Right
know,
now,
but
slope right to the water and people can fall in there. We've been
What?
dragging this.
how many kids run barefoot?
Oh, grass will still come up through that storm.
Doesn't matter, most gravel, unless it's washed river rock, that
They're
still
not
is kind
barefoot
of,
around there.
oh, I bet you they would.
I think eventually we'd be heading toward diamond dust, the UA material from the parking lot all the way around this loop.
Ground concrete, it's
That
gotta
would
be
be-
something that's gonna support a chair. If you're gonna go through all the trouble of doing all the ramping and for UA, that base should be all UA supported.
Which means this,
And it's a real fine ground,
right,
you know, you can walk on it barefoot, I know I could.
I mean,
You just go there,
Chunks.
just go there directly, Scott, just do it right up front is what you're saying.
Yeah.
and that's where I was headed. I didn't know what it was called.
And not have
But I've
that
seen that
grass,
surface, and that's what,
because I don't really wanna go mow next to the damn ponds anyway, so, or have somebody do that. I had a guy working for me and I told him, don't go near the ponds. What do we do? What did I say? Don't go near the pond. And he puts it in the pond. So,
hey, Scott, I went and I measured the perimeter of our water. There's over 1 mile of water perimeter, 5,400 feet of perimeter on these ponds in the park.
wow,
That's it, you
1
know,
mile of shoreline.
we have a mile of shoreline. But it's right, the only thing that I made the mistake of using pea stone on the project, and that isn't bad, that just rolls around, so.
I'm not saying the whole shoreline, just on
Yeah,
this
sure.
area, you know.
32A is real fine, kind of stuff we put on our highways, and you can walk on that with bare feet. And it's got the fines in it, like you need, and chunks and whatever,
32A?
32A, yeah.
Okay, but I'm gonna redraw this deal, so.
so,
Well, we could play with this drawing for a while, but I think we need to proceed with going ahead and making this whole level thing around, go around the whole circumference.
Come with another iteration. Yeah,
Well, we're working on it.
yeah.
And we're
Well, this
getting
is great
ideas.
progress. I appreciate all of that and knowing that the ramps for the Mackinac Bridge are code is great news. But anyway, I'm gonna have to scoot pretty soon, just giving you a heads up.
yeah, I wanted to wrap this up because I think we're all getting a sense of the direction we want to head with this safety issue and keep moving on it immediately, so we'll have some progress even for the next meeting. Salmon Lake Services, does anybody disagree that we've exhausted the safety issue right now? We know where we're headed?
I don't know what that's about.
Pardon me?
What's the Salem Lakes?
Oh, I'm just getting to it now.
Oh,
Laurel, did you distribute that contract electronically?
I sent a link to the page where everything for this meeting was.
Now, I went to that page and I clicked on one of the items, documents, and it was all about Miles Kimmerly.
Oh, I'll have to look, I have to check it out.
I didn't find it. Okay,
Just tell us what it says.
yeah, I'm trying to find it, I'm sorry. Oh, I put it in my folder for these things.
Was it 2475?
I've got it here, I'll find it in just a second. So this is from Salmon Lake Services, who did our weed treatment a year ago. And I'm looking for consent approval from this group to start, that we move along with them. The proposal is for much the same level of service last year. It's $2,475. We have been in communication with them about wanting to have ponds that have open fishing areas, but otherwise are fine with natural weed growth, even if it is some milfoil. We want to manage it so it's both weeds and it's enough open space, open water for fishing. Now, I don't know exactly, well, I talked with Paul Barber, at Salmon Lake Services about that point a number of times. We're simply gonna work on that. He said, yes, we can spray with that kind of pond in mind. Right now, I'm looking at getting a recommendation from this group to our P&R commission that we approve this, this service for the price of $24.75, so that I can then take it to the full county commission in their March meetings, because we need to be able to pay at least some of this that I don't have straight yet. Oh, it's the Eagle permit fee of $200. That has to, Paul's got to be able to make that application no later than mid-March. So I need approval from Parks and Rec next week and full county commission in the month of March.
I have it on my screen,
That
pulled it up,
proposal,
everything was done.
but you have a copy, so if
No.
we made a motion, you have a copy that we approve this per quote by Salmon Lake.
Yeah, I've got it up on screen.
I move that we recommend to the Parks and Rec Commission to move forward with this contract with Salmon Lake Services, not to exceed $2,475.
Second. Any discussion on, John?
I have a discussion. Steve, is your motion to send it to the full Parks and Rec?
Correct,
How are you wording that?
Yeah,
that's what I said.
that's what I
Okay.
said.
So it'll come up in front of the Parks and Rec Commission. We'll get another chance to look at it at that point, and we can have more discussion at that point. And at that point, we'll know how to recommend to the County Board of Commissioners.
Because that recommendation has to go through that process in the month of March. And,
Is that, are we gonna have to ask to waive bids?
since they provided this before,
Probably because it's over 2,000.
Yeah, but we can link it to last year. We chose them last year. They
Yeah.
were
And,
the only one.
and
Well,
you have a history where you discuss how there are limited numbers of firms who do this service.
Okay, I think it would make sense. Obviously, it makes sense for us to ask for that, and I think the County Board of Commissioners will accept it.
Yeah.
We'll get the wording through Laurel, and
so we have a motion that we recommend, this group recommend Parks and Rec next week, bring this up and
move forward with this.
move forward
contract.
with the final recommendation to the full county commission.
And it's a contract. It's like a yearly contract.
Yeah,
with them.
it's a contract, therefore regardless of price, it has to go in front of the full county commission.
Yeah.
So do I hear,
It's already been seconded. All I
it's
did
already
is
been
ask-
seconded, I seconded it, yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Good, thank you much, because that's a timing issue, as is being ready for the fish purchase. That's a timing issue, Steve Christensen.
Yes.
I will be chasing Heather on that.
Yes, yeah, it's all connected together with,
Yeah.
buying the fish and planting and the fish stay in the whole works.
Laurel, do you have to invite public comment at this point?
So we're at public comment.
Yes.
The number to call in for public comment is 231-256-8109.
I'm going to proceed here with board member comment, additional comment from any board member.
I'm good.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second, all in favor? Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Laurel.
A lot of good work's happening here. Good stuff.
So much better in person than on Zoom.